Okay, for more on this, let's bring in Kurt Knutson, the cyber guy. Hey, Kurt, nice to see you. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong here, but it strikes me that if Meta loses this case, the stakes could be huge for them because it opens up the floodgates for liability. Do I have that right?
I think, I'm not an attorney, but I sure do know about big tech and the way they operate. Brian, how are you doing? And it's very good to see you, Jackie. What we're talking about is, consider like the tobacco big case that happened. It was a class action lawsuit, and it really defined liability for the tobacco industry and changed everything. Now, big tech, like Zuckerberg, has been hiding for years behind that old law we often talk about called Section 230. That's the thing that says we're just a platform, we're not responsible. We just sort of, hey, if somebody does something bad here, we'll do our best to help out, but it's not our legal responsibility to do so. So the core question here for the jury that now is going through that voir dire process is, did these platforms just simply host the content so that Section 230 then lets them, again, get off the hook? Or, in the case of the argument here, did they engineer that addiction? Did they actually create the scenario that caused youngsters, such as this 19-year-old when it was filed KGM, to really get addicted to it, and then it caused harm? So it's not about any one bad experience. It's about how do these algorithms work, how are they built, and how do they pull kids in, and what's the damage to that? And it's curious, I don't know if Madison found out. I did not yet about what did Snap settle for. We're probably not going to hear that anytime soon.
I don't think so.
But it's interesting that they broke out from this, right? But it's kind of interesting that they broke out with a settlement ahead of time. But man, this is going to be the trial of technology for the year. It's happening in downtown Los Angeles, where I hate to tell you the really bad news is that I don't know what the temperature is in New York right now. I know it's low, but it is sunny at 83 here, or 73.
Of course. That's why they're groaning that they'll be potentially there until the end of March. But Kurt, let's take the host content and put it aside for a moment, because the host content to me is like the Tide Pod challenge that Greg Gutfeld brings up all the time. Somebody posting something telling you to eat a Tide Pod. If you do it at your own risk. Okay, that might not have as much to do with Meta, for example, or TikTok, or whoever was hosting it. But this idea of deliberately designing the algorithm to be addictive to the kids. Intent is necessary there. They needed to do it with intent knowingly that it was causing harm to people and inciting this kind of bad reaction, and continue to do it. So, in discovery, in the emails, in the conversations, that's what I would be looking for. Did they know? Was this deliberate? Am I on the right track here?
I think you are, Jackie, and think about it. We've already had cases, and we've already had whistleblowers that have come out of Meta in the past saying, hey, they knew something we were doing was bad or detrimental to children, yet they went ahead and did it anyway, or they neglected doing anything to abate that danger. So I think that is going to be crucial here, but still a very big uphill battle for that plaintiff attorney we just heard from. And then there's another attorney involved in that that's also really sharp. But still, you're up against Goliath in terms of the tech industry. If you think about big tech and who spends money on legal fees and lobbyists in Washington, it's tech. I mean, it's really going to be a tough sell. It's all about what that jury's going to end up deciding.
Yeah, real quick, last one for you. Since you brought up California and the warm weather, California's Governor Gavin Newsom is saying TikTok is suppressing Trump criticism. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a TikTok thing to me. What do you make of that?
I don't know yet. This is relatively new. I don't know if we're talking politics or something actually legitimate. He has ordered a review to see if it violates California law. Newsom is claiming that his office also received reports that were independently confirmed instances of TikTok hiding or limiting videos critical of Trump since that ownership transferred to a U.S. group. TikTok saying there's no intentional censorship here, and that a recent power outage at a U.S. data center really is to blame here. What's true? We'll find out eventually, but right now there's a lot of smoke going on, and we can't quite see where the fire is.
And Gavin is also selling knee pads to those CEOs that he said at Davos suck up to Donald Trump.
I beg your pardon,
remember where this is coming from. Kurt Knutson. So is mine.